This episode is an ESL listening practice for intermediate learners. You will hear a natural conversation with clear pronunciation and everyday English. No tests, no pressure, just listening. Let's start.
I was at this thing recently at a gathering with, people I consider really sharp, professionals, educated folks. And somehow the conversation veers into dinosaurs, as it does. So I decided to just sort of ask a question, almost like a little experiment.
Right.
You just ask, hey, if you had to guess, when did the dinosaurs actually live?
And what did you get? I can only imagine.
The answers were fascinating.
Yeah.
And so confident, too. I got things like, maybe 100,000 years ago. That sounds about right for prehistory.
100,000.
And the most common one by far was definitely 1 million years ago. That's like super ancient.
Right. 1 million years. It's become our default setting for a really, really long time ago.
Exactly. It just rolls off the tongue. It's our ultimate marker for antiquity. You think ice ages, you think early humans, that kind of remote past.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that answer, the one that feels so right in our bones, is just wildly, staggeringly wrong. It misses the mark by a distance that is, frankly, humbling.
It's not even in the same ballpark.
Not even in the same universe. So welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is, well, it's fundamental. We're taking this stack of sources you've all shared with us on geological time and fossil records.
Great stuff in here.
And we're going to use them to completely reset your internal clock. We have to move past this comfortable human-sized timeline and really truly grasp the staggering scale of geological time.
Deep time.
Deep time. Specifically, we're going to reveal just how long the dinosaur empire lasted and why understanding the duration is so essential to recognizing our own species. Well, our own very brief time on this planet.
And we have to start with that immediate scale shock. You said it, because the numbers themselves are almost abstract unless you have the right context. If the answer you were getting was 1 million years ago, that means they're off for over 200 million years.
200 billion.
That is not a rounding error. It's a complete failure to engage with the planet's history on its own terms.
So let's give them the real numbers.
Okay. Our sources are all clear on this. Dinosaurs first show up in the fossil record around 230 million years ago.
The Triassic period.
Exactly. A time of massive recovery after one of the biggest extinction events Earth has ever seen. And their story, their absolute dominance, it concludes pretty abruptly about 66 million years ago.
The famous asteroid.
The Chicxulub impact, yes. The one that triggered the end Cretaceous mass extinction. So when you realize the numbers we're playing with are in the hundreds of millions, suddenly, our entire human history, it looks like a flash of lightning in an infinite night sky.
It changes everything. So what we're going to do is unpack this using the source material. We have 3 big revelations for you today.
Okay.
First, we're going to talk about the sheer staggering length of their rule, over 160 million years, and what that really means for their success as a life form. Second, and this is going to blow your mind, we're going to show you that because their era was so long, not only did we not meet them, but most of the famous dinosaurs you think of never even met each other.
This is the big one.
Well, yeah. And finally, we'll explore why getting this perspective, this sense of deep time, fundamentally changes how you see Earth's history, why it forces you to rethink ideas of stability, permanence, and just how short our time here has been.
It's a proper paradigm shift.
It is.
Yeah.
So let's start by trying to put some human anchors on that timeline, just to show how vast that gap really is between us and them.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this gap, this chasm separating us from the age of dinosaurs, we absolutely need anchors because our brains, they're just not built for this.
No, we think in terms of lifespans, maybe a few generations. 1,000 years is pushing it.
Right. We can handle recorded history. That's our comfort zone. But 66 million years, my brain just kind of shuts down. It compresses it all into this vague blob called the past.
And that compression is exactly why the 1 million years mistake is so common. 1 million years is ancient to us. It's a huge number in human terms.
Of course.
So we have to use the benchmarks that are in the sources here to try and, drag that number into something we can almost comprehend.
So where do we start?
Let's start with one of the most ancient, recognizable human achievements on the planet, something that just screams antiquity. The Great Pyramids of Giza.
Okay, the pyramids, they feel eternal.
They do. They feel like they've been there forever. Well, they were built only about 4,500 years ago.
4,500.
Okay, now imagine the time since the last dinosaur died is the length of a football field, 100 yards.
Got it.
On that scale, the pyramids were built about 2 steps from our own goal line. Geologically, they are brand new.
Wow. Okay, that's a powerful image. The pyramids are just a rounding error.
Pretty much. Now let's scale it up. Let's talk about our species, Homo sapiens.
Us, modern humans.
Modern humans, yeah. We've been anatomically and behaviorally recognizable for roughly 300,000 years.
And that number, 300,000 years, that feels enormous. That's our entire story. Tools, continents, civilizations, everything.
It is a colossal stretch of time. It completely exhausts our historical imagination. But here's the critical comparison. If you calculate the time between the dinosaur extinction and the appearance of modern humans, you're looking at a gap of 65.7 million years.
65.7 million.
So that entire 300,000-year span of humanity, it's less than 0.5% of the time that separates us from that asteroid impact.
I had to read that figure in the sources 3 times. I couldn't wrap my head around it.
It's staggering.
It means the dinosaurs were gone, the crater was cold, the planet had already moved into a new era, the age of mammals, for tens of millions of years before our species was even a whisper of an evolutionary possibility.
We weren't even a distant biological idea when the age of reptiles ended. So, to sum up this first part, we have to stop thinking of the dinosaur age as long ago. It's a separate, self-contained history that unfolded on a scale we rarely confront in our daily lives.
So, okay, we've got the bookends. The start point at 230 million years ago, the end point at 66 million years ago.
Right.
Which gives us that raw number. Modern humans have existed for less than 0.2% of the time that dinosaurs ruled the planet.
Less than 1/5%.
It's practically a rounding error.
Let me try another visualization. Imagine you map the entire 165 million year dinosaur reign onto a single calendar year.
Okay, a year.
The first dinosaur appears at the stroke of midnight on January 1st. The extinction event, the asteroid, hits late in the evening on December 31st.
The whole year is the age of dinosaurs.
The whole year. In that scenario, the entire 300,000-year history of modern humanity would take up the last 10 minutes of that year.
10 minutes?
10 minutes before midnight. And our greatest ancient civilizations, the pyramids we just talked about, the invention of writing, that all happens in the last few seconds.
That's the ratio we're dealing with.
Yeah.
It's humbling, is what it is.
It is.
And that visual, the 10-minute human flicker against the year-long dinosaur saga, it makes their success story even more profound. Because it wasn't a static world for 165 million years.
Not at all. That's a huge misconception.
It was an era of constant, massive geological and climatic upheaval. The fact that they lasted so long says so much about the biological stability and the adaptability of the dinosaur blueprint.
Absolutely. The greatest test of their dominance was their ability to adapt and maintain that top spot through geological processes that completely dwarf our own time frame.
What kind of changes are we talking about?
Well, the sources detail some major ones. First, just major global climate shifts.
Right.
They lived through periods of intense greenhouse conditions where global temperatures were way warmer than today.
Right.
You had lush, swampy forests near the poles.
Wow.
But they also adapted to cooler, drier periods where things got tough. Unlike mammals, who tend to specialize really quickly and can get wiped out, dinosaurs showed this incredible resilience across all kinds of climates.
And then there's the big one. The ground beneath their feet was literally moving.
The biggest one of all. Massive continental drift.
They started out when it was all one big supercontinent, Pangea.
Largely, yes, which meant you could, in theory, walk from what is now North America to Africa without getting your feet wet. But over the next 100 million years or so, they witnessed the slow, agonizing breakup of that landmass.
Can you break that down for us?
Sure. So during the Triassic, when they first appeared, Pangea was this one huge continent. You had really widespread animals, not a lot of barriers, and these intense inland deserts.
Okay.
But as you move into the Jurassic, plate tectonics goes into overdrive. Pangea starts to tear apart into 2 new supercontinents, Laurasia in the north.
North America and Eurasia.
Right, and Gondwana in the south.
South America, Africa, Antarctica, all of that.
Exactly. And this rifting wasn't an instantaneous event. It took tens of millions of years, and the dinosaurs were there for the whole show.
So what did that do to them evolutionarily?
It was a huge driver of speciation. The fracturing of Pangaea created new coastlines, new shallow seas, and it created these profound barriers. Animals got separated.
So they evolved differently.
Precisely. The huge sauropods of the Jurassic, the long necks, they evolved and diversified specifically because the continents were splitting. The Brachiosaurus in North America was physically cut off from its relatives in Africa, so they went down different evolutionary paths.
All while the plates were just sliding apart at the speed a fingernail grows.
That's the one. It truly helps you visualize the scale of time. The very ground they stood on was changing its address, and yet they remained the dominant life form.
And that drift unleashes other things, right? It's not just continents moving.
Oh, absolutely. It unleashes colossal forces. The sources talk about frequent, immense episodes of volcanic eruptions. And the dinosaurs didn't just survive these, they overcame them. Sometimes they even thrived on the mineral-rich soils that came after.
Dinosaurs were dominant for longer than mammals have even existed, let alone been the top dogs.
We have not yet earned the right to call ourselves the long-term stable rulers of this planet. Not by a long shot.
So we've established the 165 million year rule. We get the scale, the geological chaos they live through.
Right.
But this is where we move from just big numbers to a really surprising narrative disconnect.
Yeah, this is the fun part.
The idea we all get from movies, from cartoons, from toys, this, happy family of all the famous dinosaurs living together.
The Jurassic Park picture.
It's the biggest cinematic lie we accept about prehistory. The span of time was so huge that, simply put, most of them never, ever met.
It's like imagining Julius Caesar using an iPhone. That's how fundamentally wrong our compressed view of the dinosaur age is.
So let's break it down. The sources are very clear that their timeline spanned 3 major distinct periods.
Yes, and the gaps between these eras were themselves millions of years long.
So let's name them.
Okay, we start with the Triassic period. That's about 252 to 201 million years ago. This is where they first appear, they're diversifying, they're generally smaller, faster.
And living alongside other big reptiles that weren't dinosaurs.
Exactly. Then you get the Jurassic period, 201 to 145 million years ago. This is what people think of as the Golden Age. The giant, long-necked sauropods, the famous plated herbivores.
The stars of the show.
The A-listers. And finally, the Cretaceous period, 145 to 66 million years ago. This is the final act. You see the rise of the most iconic specialized predators and the heavily armored herbivores. It all culminates in the Big Boom.
And what's crucial to understand is that the transition between, say, the Jurassic and the Cretaceous, it's not a neat line on a chart.
Not at all. It's a transition that saw entire ecosystems collapse and new ones emerge over millions and millions of years. Whole families of dinosaurs could dominate, go extinct, and be completely forgotten in the fossil record before the next big star even gets on stage.
Which brings us to the most jarring example, the one focused on the king himself.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
The popular media has cemented T-Rex as a creature of the Jurassic period. Jurassic Park didn't help.
No, it did not.
So this is the first myth we have to just completely destroy.
Let's do it. T-Rex was not a Jurassic animal, full stop.
So when was he?
T-Rex was one of the last, most highly evolved species, a product of very specialized evolution at the very, very end of the late Cretaceous period.
The end of the end.
Exactly. It roamed what is now North America between 68 and 66 million years ago. It was literally there to see the lights go out.
So it lived in a world where the continents were much more like they are today.
Far more. It was a late post-Pangaea animal. Its neighbors were Triceratops and Edmontosaurus. It was the final devastating apex predator of that entire era.
Okay, so we've placed T-Rex. Now let's bring in another dinosaur that everyone knows, but one that's separated by a staggering chronological gulf.
Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus. The plates on the back, the spiked tail. You can't mistake it.
It's the definitive image of an armored herbivore. And Stegosaurus lived deep in the late Jurassic. It shows up around 150 million years ago.
A Jurassic animal through and through.
Completely. It lived on those vast, still connected continents alongside the giant long necks of that era. Its world was entirely different from the world of the late Cretaceous.
But now we do the math. Let's calculate the gap.
T-Rex appears on the scene nearly 80 million years after Stegosaurus became extinct.
80 million years.
Let that sink in. The entire dinosaur reign was 165 million years. And a gap of 80 million years, almost half of their entire history, separates two of the most famous creatures we always picture fighting each other.
T-Rex lived closer in time to humans than it did to Stegosaurus. So T-Rex was born into a world where Stegosaurus fossils were already in the ground.
Already deep in the rock, waiting to be discovered millions of years later by another species entirely.
That is truly mind-bending.
And this dive into the numbers, it's not just about winning trivia night.
No.
The source material brings up a really crucial philosophical point. When we misunderstand the dinosaur timeline, when we think they lived 1 million years ago, we actively shrink our sense of Earth's history.
And when you shrink the past, you distort the present. You lose that sense of scale. You lose your appreciation for the slow, relentless power of the planet.
The scale of mountain building, of ocean formation.
You start to think that massive change has to happen fast, or that our current setup, our geological era, is somehow permanent.
And it requires a big cognitive shift. We have to stop thinking of dinosaurs as just some vague, big reptiles from long ago.
Yeah.
That label is so minimizing, it completely undersells their achievement.
So what should we see them as?
We have to recognize them for what they really were. The most successful, dominant, complex life forms this planet has ever known, measured by sheer duration and adaptive resilience.
To last for 165 million years, through everything we've talked about, climate change, continents breaking apart, volcanoes.
And to maintain biological dominance through all of it. That is a track record of biological fitness that we as mammals haven't even begun to approach.
They weren't an anomaly.
No, they were the long-term normal for Earth. We're the newcomers. We are the statistical blip in this vast, ongoing story.
This knowledge encourages us to think critically about change on a planetary scale. It means understanding that this moment, however intense and important it feels to us, is just one single frame in a 165 million year-long movie.
And there's another point. Grasping that scale gives real weight to their extinction.
How so?
The dinosaurs were not failures. They were unbelievably successful for an incredible length of time, but they were wiped out by an external, sudden, cataclysmic event.
It reinforces that even the most stable, successful life forms are ultimately subject to the random, overwhelming forces of the cosmos.
Their downfall wasn't due to poor adaptation. It was overwhelming bad luck after 165 million years of extraordinary good fortune.
And that contrast is so powerful. The slow geological change they weathered versus the catastrophic instant event that killed them.
They could adapt to continents drifting over 100 million years. They couldn't adapt to a 10-mile wide rock hitting the planet at 10 miles a second.
So let's bring it all back together one last time. Let's solidify that ultimate scope.
Let's do it.
Dinosaurs ruled for over 160 million years. A stretch so vast that 80 million years separated two of their most famous members. They vanished long before our species was even a thought. Our entire civilization, from the first stone tool to the satellites in orbit, fits into a mere blink of geological time.
Our time here is likely just too brief to observe the true foundational churn of the planet from start to finish.
Which makes the dinosaurs' 165 million years of sustained observation and adaptation even more extraordinary.
It does.
Truly humbling. That is a scale we will all be mulling over for the rest of the week.
For sure.
Thank you for sharing your sources and joining us for this incredibly deep dive into the scale of Earth's history. We'll catch you on the next one.